a lot of companies, when you come in there, those all departments work in silos, right? You probably know that as well. Well, basically you stop treating them like separate teams. Sales actually is marketing. Customer success is demand gen. The only way to connect them is to build a shared language and shared incentives. So what does it look like in practice? It's joint planning, shared KPIs. For example, in one of the companies I was working with, like, nobody had its educational software. Nobody had trust in marketing. They were sales companies. And so what we did from the start, instead of trying to fight it, and marketing needs a space, needs more budget, those kind of things, we said marketing will inherit and have the same goals and KPIs as sales. Then instantly those two teams works together towards the same goal. Sure, sales can have the praise, but they started to value marketing more because they see, if they started to achieve their KPIs regularly, basically marketing has its part in doing that because they are doing some of the things that sales doesn't. And then it compounds I mentioned it before, to getting, their KPIs. Basically, how does it work? Weekly syncs with marketing listens to the sales calls, customer success also shares their calls, churn signals as well. Sales also tests the positioning, the messaging, and comes back with the feedback. And there's only one source of truth, right? Usually a Notion doc or CRM layer where everybody sees what's working and what's not. And what I like to do every quarter, to have them sign in who owns which part of the buying journey, right? Which part of the process. So like sales owns this, bullets. It can be as simple as that. Marketing this, customer success this. So when they sign to it, it's not like something that's, I don't know, legal or whatever it is, but it makes them think about it and not to forget when they sign it once in a quarter. And then when we get into the thing that something happened, we know who's responsible for it. And then they also feel it, and they treat that part of the funnel like, hey, I own that. So, from that point, yes, to the other stuff that we talk about, like, for example, from the marketing standpoint, if marketing does a good job and educates the market, creates demand. So what we treat as an SQL is somebody who comes to the website and says, I want to talk to sales, right? Nothing else. So when that happens, sales has only the quality leads, and basically they have one job to close it. So you don't need more people in sales. You can have just 2 or 3 of them who knows how to close them, and they will close them on even higher note because they are great at what they do. So when this is the situation, then sales also has time to go and do the outreach, right? Do the other hand, and they do their part of closing the existing demand there. And when you look at it through those lenses, that sales doesn't say marketing does a shitty job again. They say, actually, those leads are good. Marketing actually does a good job. So you don't need 10 people in sales to waste time to try to convince people to actually, buy something because they just downloaded an ebook. Right. So from that standpoint, if marketing does a good job, it instantly creates the alignment inside the company. Because usually where it breaks is that something is wrong for example, in SaaS company, they say we need to have more sales training or we need additional sales reps because they are sales companies and they think from that perspective. But usually what the problem is in marketing. And what I learned that the complex problems comes out because we need to nail the foundation. And the foundation is alignment. Do we align them around the KPIs, around the goal? How do we do that? Not only digitally, but also offline. Do we get them into the same room? Who owns the conversation? How often does those conversations happen? All these things are extremely important.
You spoke about that Notion doc or sort of internal knowledge base. What does that look like?
Usually, there are all these things that we say as their foundation of the team. What does it mean? Who is the ICP? How do they call us? How do they come to buy from us? Which platforms? What are they doing on those platforms? Who are the influential people for that audience? What's their jobs to be done? And how what we sell solves the problems of each of those people. So, like, for example, CFO, how do we convince the CFO? CMO, how do we convince them? CTO as well. So we have all the knowledge base it's over there. Then what we also have there, and I think it's crucial part, especially if we talk about, for example, tech startups, it's strategic narrative. I usually use Andy Ruskin template for that, which is in 5 stages. And it is like, what's the big change in the world? So we can show them like it's happening no matter what they do. The second one is, can we prove that it's not only in our head, that it's actually happened? The third one is the promised land. How does it look like if they buy from us and their problem is solved? The fourth one is, why us? So how are we different from the others? And the last part is, some people need more convincing. So they're like case studies, testimonials, but also materials that we can give to the people who can actually sell for us inside the companies. Right. So when I start with that, then I move to the strategy. So that's the crucial document when we can see, okay, we are missing that part or we are missing that part. So we need to create all those things. When you have all those things, then we move to the strategy, and then we see how do we create content, how do we go with advertising, with all these things. So that's kind of into that Notion document. Also, a lot of incentives that we have from the sales calls, from customer success calls, because these days the problem was, back in the days, that you needed to teach salespeople how to extract the information from the sales calls. What did you talk about? What did they say? Those kind of things. Now, when we have AI, it's much easier.